presidential affairs. Also in the room, we have key players from the ministries, departments, and agencies, and all these have an impact on what trade between Uganda and many other countries is all about.
Thank you very much. Mr. Rabogo, thank you for this opportunity that we are here today. As you can see, there is a gap in information. The more we know, the more we can do. My old boy, Professor, mentioned about the creative industries. As I mentioned before, I'm the chairperson of the forum. I pledge to work with you because Uganda, with the demographic of very young people who are no longer quite interested in agriculture, they are not. Most of them are creative. Uganda has got the biggest cultural spectrum with rhythms from the north to the south which can be exported and will make more money for Uganda, more than coffee, more than petroleum. So I'm requesting that one of the things that you look into and help us to build the infrastructure that builds the creative economy of Uganda. We shall talk more on this one. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's take one more question.
Thank you, moderator. Thank you, Chair. Seeing Harriet Mugenyi again, we met when I was first appointed to the RDC. It is the chairperson who took my file. So definitely, I know that he's very hardworking, and we shall support if we really get into to get what it is real about. Because what is here is like, just like Honorable Yakatonda said, for me at least I've had information that this is what you're doing, but I've been wondering, because I know you, chairperson, as a very practical person. At least we've done some work in Europe, and we shall forever be grateful. But how come, as a country, how come we are really failing to organize trade? That is a question that as a committee we've tried to ask the Minister of Trade. They are always keeping off. Like today, this is a forum where they could have been. Tactfully, don't think they've forgotten. They are not here. Such that when we have questions, and maybe as we give answers, because when we are all in this room, we can know where the missing link is. As a committee, I cannot shy away from saying we've had issues with the Minister of Trade. Because wherever you go, chairperson and members here, the question in people's minds is, how do we fail to organize trade? We've only concentrated on production, and you and I know, and everyone here, that people are doing all it takes, our local communities are doing all it takes to ensure that at least the production is there. Look at the store on maize. Mr. Rabogo, I don't know what is happening in other areas. Go to Hoima and see how much a kilo of maize is. But Uganda has opened its doors to inputs. It is actually a market for inputs. People bring your herbicides, they bring what, and Ugandans are consuming. After losing a lot of money in that, there is no export strategy. The maize is there, it has no customers. And I'm sure it will even take 2 other seasons. Government gave us seeds. My people in home refused to even take the seeds. They can't plant the maize. Why should they plant the maize when the maize has no market? So, Mr. Rabogo and team, I believe there is somebody who is not doing the right thing. It could even be a mission to keep Ugandans in this state of affairs, because like you talked about the Sugar Council can come 1,000 times. But if Ugandans are not serious, the people President Museveni has entrusted, if they are not really serious, it will still go to waste. We had a board that was supposed to be operationalized. Honorable knows, we sit on the same committee, it didn't work. As the parliament, we passed it. It didn't work. What is Minister of Trade doing? It goes to license the big men in the sugar industry. It gives them licenses. It says don't put here a factory. Even when our outgrowers want a factory, they don't even give them chance. They make people, they give licenses to people who are not even going to put sugar factories, the millers, but just to make people as satellite farms. And then they are licensing to keep off the potential millers. So something is not right here. I'm happy that you've joined this. We dream to see. Trading is not about the statistics our men in the other accent, the British accent, were saying. Trade is a simple thing. I have grown my maize. Can government identify where I can sell the maize? That is what we understand as the local community. I thank you so much, and we look forward to that.
You and the team raised very pertinent issues. So we should, my first point is that we should really continue the conversation, and I hope you plan for that. When you talk about the communication part bit of it, I really agree. I was in the US this year, and I had an opportunity to sit with congressmen. I was actually in a dinner which had both senators and congressmen, about 35 of them in one room. I was the only Ugandan politician in that room. And this same question of our act on homosexuality came in. But I truly believe that it was a misunderstood perspective, because all this information went there on social media and resulted into the actions that the US has taken. So I strongly agree with you that a communication strategy should be designed to communicate our position. I strongly agree with that. The only question I have is that this needs financing, and it has come out. You are suggesting $5 million should go into funding this type of structured communication. The question is, which vehicle are you using? As we speak, government is merging Uganda Export Promotion Board, and I think mainstreaming it. So which vehicle? Where should the money go? And I think this is the issue between you and Parliament, because it's not just a legislation issue, it is also an allocation issue. And so I think what vehicle is government going to use? Are we going to use private sector as it is, or are we going to use the Ministry of Trade? And it should be something functional, because for these actions to take place, we should be able to finance them. And somebody like those gentlemen doing what they are doing, I agree with you, needs funding. But my question is, what vehicle you will use? When you talk about how the US strategy to us has been through NGOs, I agree. And it is the reason why there has been distortion. So the people who want to invest don't really see the real picture. So I think the strategy of using business as a way of relating is a more strategic way. And again, there are loopholes in government. For instance, you find most of our relationships, like when you look at our embassies, we don't even have commercial attaches. So how do you communicate? How can we make sure that the business communication is the ultimate big deal? Those are my issues. I thank you.
Thank you very much. So first, I would like to thank you for this time. I see that there is a lot of bottled up ideas, thoughts, and what should be done. For me, if I can speak honestly, I feel useless. So when I speak, I practice what we call tender authenticity. Say it as it is, even if it hurts someone, but it saves all of us. So the reason I have not directly engaged members of parliament is that I didn't want to appear as if I'm politicizing this work. You know, you don't want to be appearing, pitching to MPs, this is my work, but I recognize that there is a difference between pitching and creating awareness of what really matters, because I see the interest you have in this, And I want to agree with the Honorable Amwaka, my sister, that synergy and coordination, we don't have time. I want to spend a very, very short time so I can release you. We've been doing work quietly. If I tell you about, for example, sanitary and phytosanitary standard battles we've gone through for the last 18 months. We started with Ministry of Health, because Ministry of Health controls drugs and chemicals. We came to agriculture. Agriculture said that is our area. We brought these institutions together, and there was a fight. You don't want to be in that room. Who should control what? Jurisdiction, mandate. Eventually, there was the understanding that we cannot control plant health, animal health, food safety, unless we just break out of these two and create something independent. Whose documentation, whose enforcement, whose disease control, whose pest control can be certified at WTO level, and documentation can be blockchained so that whether you are in Switzerland or Uganda, your documentation has credibility. We can't do that as per se. We've been doing it quietly. The danger is that now I see quietness doesn't help. We should come and tell you. We should campaign for these ideas and say, this is the idea whose time is now, and it doesn't matter who does it and mandate issues, it matters that we get it done. So coordination has been there, because for me I find coordination more important often than execution. Because execution is great, but you don't execute what you don't know. You don't coordinate institutions very well, then you cannot get out of this. So I want to propose, my sister Honorable Amwaka, that, and you spoke about regional markets. I agree with all those things. 2019, before COVID, $420 billion worth of exports, all of Africa. FDI into Africa, 31 billion. What does that tell you? More trade matters than what we are receiving. Now, but 45% of all our value-added goods go in our region. Europe and America takes our food. Congo, Ghana, Algeria, other countries, they take our value-added products. The focus should be there. But you don't have an Africa Common Market Free Trade Area Committee as a national executing committee. You haven't signed on Afreximbank money waiting for us. $1 billion for adjusting in sectors where we make losses. Slow, 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 slow on almost everything that matters. So my proposal to you is, let's create a small team. Okay? And first, I don't know whether a small team or us coming every committee matters. Can I leave that with you? Because for me, the people who have spoken, if we formed a small SWAT team and we go through all the issues that will give us better presence on markets, that will answer to the sectors that are struggling, that's the first level of understanding before you can explain to others. But if you want us to go to each committee, because this public service has wonderful people in Ministry of Trade, in Ministry of Foreign Affairs, they are good people. But there's something that doesn't get people working together or executing on time, and we need to know it and deal with it as Ugandans without complaining. So I want to leave that with you, Honorable Amwaka. Is it us coming into each? I can do that. Or can we set up a small team that really executes, knows the ideas and what should be done, and we fix these? Omulamogi, my brother, Honorable, I agree with you. Thank you very much. You know, values will trump. Values will force you to do the things you don't want to do. But let me tell you, when you make a decision, prepare for consequences. It's not enough to say, I'm good, I don't do this, but you don't have a plan on how you manage the fallout. That's all I ask. I made calls before this act was passed. I support the act, but I said, can we have plan B on these markets? Can we prepare our communication plan? Can we deal with our embassies? Can we go on an offensive before we pass it? I didn't get support till it was last minute, and these people will tell you what the kind of fire we faced. To sit in front of people and they insult you. They are insulting your head of state, they are insulting your people, but you are the vehicle. And then you say, we don't care, this is who we are, we will trade. We will trade with other parts of the world, but we will trade with you only if we can agree on a minimum consensus that you will remain our allies on other things, but this area you have to let it be what it is. And people understand when you explain, but comms, absent. I spoke about the US market, but you know we can sell to UAE, we can sell to China. The same strategy for the US is needed for all these markets. The same coordination, the same communication. That's why I said either we form a small SWAT team and get this done. So Sugar Council, I will come to you. The Sugar Council idea, we arrived at it because we saw that there is no way you can have one arm decide for another without coordination. So can we have a chat about that so I don't delay people? Our economy is growing, even with this AGOA. Dennis Batanda told you AGOA is someone telling you, here is my house, come and have a seat. But they can say, get out. It doesn't mean that there is no compound, there is no garden, there are no other things to deal with. The issue of me getting you out of that room is I'm signaling other parts of the world that follow me that you are not good. That's why you don't see our allies here. We invited them, but we said we will keep working until this, and we explain there's a court process. You must respect our institutions if you disagree with us. We have shared with them the National Action Plan on Human Rights. We're moving. The Human Rights Action Plan is for us. We don't make it for you. So with or without you, we need to have that. We have had conversations with DPP on offenders. There is some work we do, but we don't shout about it. But what I hear this morning is, come talk to us as members of parliament. Make sure that don't leave out allies. Have a strategy that allows you with a bigger voice at a community level, at a parliament level, at institutional level, to bring some minimum thinking on how to approach these issues. Honorable Akatonda, you've never heard about PASAID. You are a good start for me, so I think we need to do some awareness, people. Really, really. We need to admit that we need to go to our allies and explain. So we'll come to you. When do you want me to come, and who do you want me to speak to? I will spend time and create the necessary awareness so that you can understand this work. This work is multi-generational. This work requires so I speak to my old man, Mzee Mwebesa, and I tell him, Mzee Mwebesa, there are things you will not do. I am your force multiplier. But there are things I need to learn from you. There is no fight here, only a coalition to deal with what matters for the country. It's multi-generational. It's multi-institutional. But it should be centered around a core dashboard of thinking that this is very important and this is a strategy. Honorable Rachel Magola, I don't need to add anything. Your OB knows the numbers you're talking about. The cultural and entertainment industry in the US out of California is the biggest export they have. We can do it because Nigerians do it. Again, who's thinking those thoughts and who's putting them in action? That's why I'm looking for a small SWAT team. My sister Akiki Harriet, Nkuhulire Charlie, Omangire mpako ya nyo ni atengi. So, listen, so if you take maize out of Kiriandongo, let me just give you a statistic that will probably answer this, even before you export. The country has set a target of 1 million tons of fish for exports. What are we selling currently? 168,000 metric tons. How are we getting that? So Uganda is 40,000 square kilometers of fresh water. We produce, just listen to those numbers, produce out of that gift from God, we produce 168,000 metric tons. Egypt has only 6,000 square kilometers of water. They produce 1 million tons of fish. They are number 3 in the world. So we ask the question, what's that? How is it the one who has more produces less, the one who has less produces more? So we found 2 problems. Fish feeds industry being absent, and genetics of fish. I'm just speaking fish, I could be speaking about milk or beef. And so we found that we now have an investment in 2 plants. One by Oma Mandela, there's another one in Nyenga, on the way to Mukono. And in between them, next year, we are going to have 100,000 metric tons of feeds for fish. It's a major breakthrough, major breakthrough. What does that mean? For you to produce 1 million tons of fish, you need to burn 800,000 metric tons of maize. You need to burn 600,000 metric tons of soya. Right? How much tonnage are we producing of soya and of maize? And who knows these 2 factories? And who is negotiating? I'm not talking about going to Kenya, because the Kenyans come with a truck to Kiliandongo and they pick the maize. Yet now we are building capacity. What we need is the fish feeds to export. Because Jennifer here and General Akara have some tonnage capacity in their trunks of aircrafts to deliver this fish in Kinshasa, to deliver in Lagos. Lagos has sea fish. We have freshwater fish. You know, we need to be granular about these things, and I feel like I don't have time. You need to understand that your country has all it takes, but something is missing, and it's called a key to organize things. So when you get this 800,000 metric tons and 600,000 metric tons of soya, and you produce the fish feeds, you also save 100,000 metric tons we are importing as cooking oil. Because we import that, that's about $80 million we lose every year.